This text from Blake Lively is insane. If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play. It's my love language, spicy and playfully bold, never with teeth. What?
It's a crazy text.
What are you insinuating? Like, is that a joke?
Yeah.
I was blown away reading it. I really was blown away, and honestly, weirded out. We're dealing with a weird on our hands because this crazy.
I've been doing this job a long time, and when you go on these international tours, you're like, you start to say, what's the weirdest show we can do? And at the time, this was before The Masked Singer was in the U.S. So it's like they have this show called The Masked Singer, which is huge in South Carolina. We're doing that show. We have to go do that show.
She said, just read it, because I was looking for movies that could be commercial and speak to the human experience. And
were you reading romance novels?
And I had never read a romance novel.
Never?
And she said, just trust me, read it. So I read it, and by the end of the book, I couldn't even read the text on the page because I was crying so much. My wife was in bed next to me, and she's, I got snot coming out of my nose.
About a month ago, this really hit home with me too. About a month ago, I was sitting in traffic, and I was just like jamming These Dreams by heart. I was killing it in the car. And there was just this busload of high school kids that were parked right beside me. I didn't even realize. I looked over, and every one of their jaws were just on the ground, laughing their friggin' guts out at me.
She's 4 years old, and everyone's dancing, and we're watching this video, and she and Maya's liking it, and and some of the words are kind of not attacking, but
provocative
for skinny girls, kind of making skinny girls possibly feel bad for being skinny.
I was testing for a show that ended up actually getting picked up and doing very well, and I was one of 2 people maybe, and then I get a call from my managers and my agent. They were both on the line, which means it's something serious. Either you got the job or there's something wrong. And they said, so you were the choice, but the network said that your eyebrows would be too distracting.
Oh, what?
Oh no.
And then they went like, so what can we do about your eyebrows?
So for anybody who hasn't read the book or seen the film already, tell our audience what it's about.
Well, it's based on a beautiful, really important book, and it's about a young woman named Lily who confronts the generational cycles in her life and breaks them and ends the circle. And I hope people find it inspiring, and yet also, it's a film about a heavy topic. It's about domestic violence.
My relationship with my father, which was very complicated and difficult. My dad was a very I come from a middle class, kind of blue collar home, and my dad was just of that generation where it's just like, he was Clint Eastwood, less is more. Simple grunts is how he communicated.
Okay, gotcha.
I think people tell themselves stories, and this sort of comes back to your worldview that you just mentioned about.
But also we hurt ourselves, and I didn't realize how much I was suffering. And so many men I know are suffering, but we can't ask for help. We can't talk about it, because if we talk about it, we're challenging the system that keeps us in the box. And we're hurting ourselves. We're walking around miserable and unhappy, even though we're putting on a face that we are. So a book was kind of like a 2.0 of the TED Talk. It was a way to put everything on the page, and it was also really healing for me.
Well, that is also accurate, and weirdly high praise as well. It was just one of those. It felt like a live action Pixar movie. It was something that I wanted to do something where nobody was being stabbed in the face. There was almost no blood at all. I think I got a little paper cut on the movie. That was about it. And something that my kids can watch, but also as a parent, too, you want the parents need to get punched right in the heart as well.
Because I had somebody who was it's like the difference between driving, maybe like a Toyota Camry, no offense to Toyota Camrys, or like a Ferrari. You're like acting with somebody who's like a Ferrari of an actor, and you move a little bit and then they respond. And it really was incredible, just in terms of helping me craft the performance.
Megyn Kelly has set Hollywood buzzing with a brand new exposé suggesting that Blake Lively may have secretly crossed a line in her marriage to Ryan Reynolds. According to Megyn's startling revelations, the entire situation began simmering during the filming of It Ends With Us, where Blake was cast alongside Justin Baldoni. While these details first seemed like everyday workplace tension, Megyn Kelly's deep dive has uncovered messages, video clips, and behind-the-scenes testimony that hint at something far more personal going on between Blake and Justin. Suddenly, it's not just a matter of creative disagreements or questionable production decisions, it's an alleged love triangle involving two A-listers who always seemed rock solid. What makes this new information so astonishing is how it all started with whispers that Blake herself was unhappy during the "It Ends With Us" shoot. Initially, Blake filed a lengthy complaint claiming Justin and the production team had made the environment unbearably tense. The complaint portrayed Justin as difficult, controlling, and even outlined moments that painted him in a very unflattering light. Most fans immediately took Blake's side, presuming she was just another star fighting for her professional respect. But Megyn Kelly's Bombshell coverage has flipped the script, pointing out that Blake's allegations may have been a smokescreen to conceal something more scandalous: a blossoming personal connection with Justin. Megyn began her exposé by referencing text conversations between Blake and Justin that were never supposed to see the light of day. One of the most jaw-dropping reads, "If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the banter would play. It's my love language, spicy and playfully bold, never with teeth." Megyn highlighted how odd it was for a married woman to talk so glowingly about spicy banter with her co-star, especially one she'd already accused of unprofessional behavior. This line alone sparked rumors that maybe there was something more going on. Then came the now infamous voice memo Justin sent Blake at 2 a.m, which Megyn Kelly played excerpts from on her show. The full recording lasted about 6 minutes, and in it, Justin repeatedly apologized for not taking Blake's script ideas seriously enough. He thanked her for being so open with him, insisting he'd do better in the future, and explaining he really valued how she pushed him creatively. Megyn Kelly zeroed in on the undertones, the way Justin's voice sounded both remorseful and deeply affectionate, as if he truly dreaded letting Blake down. It didn't sound like a typical actor-director chat. It sounded more like a personal heart-to-heart between people who'd grown closer than expected. What made these voice memos even more compelling was the context. Moments before the apology, Blake had allegedly used a Game of Thrones analogy, describing herself as the powerful mother of dragons who could unleash her forces if she didn't get her way. At first glance, it seemed like a cheeky reference to her star power and circle of influential friends, most notably Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds. But Megyn Kelly highlighted a more manipulative undertone. Was Blake implying that if Justin didn't comply with her wishes, she'd persuade these dragons to torch his reputation? The entire conversation hinted at someone not just fighting for creative control, but also dropping veiled threats that she could summon Hollywood titans if things didn't go her way. As Megyn continued dissecting this saga, she played sections of an older interview clip.
Here she is at the 2022 Forbes Power Women's Summit.
I would show up on a set. I knew that they just wanted me to show up and look cute and stand on a little pink sticker where I'm supposed to go and say what I'm supposed to say. But I also knew that that wasn't fulfilling for me, that I wanted to be a part of the storytelling, that I wanted to be a part of the narrative, whether that be in the writing, in the costume design, in creating the character. And sometimes I had directors or producers or writers who would welcome that and invite that once they saw that I was able to offer that. And sometimes I would have people who really resented that because they were like, we just hired you to be an actor. Yet when I went in the meetings, I would just seem like I'm just there to be the actor and ready to get the gig. I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled. So I think that for them, sometimes that might have felt like a rug pull because you're like, you're trying to assert yourself into something that we didn't hire you to do.
So she's a serial fraudster. That's called fraud, when you pretend you want to do the one thing and you'll do the thing they're hiring you for, but all along you have secret plans to do something very, very different that's above your pay grade. And she finally bumped into someone who was weak enough and not famous enough to stop her, right? This Justin Baldoni, most people had never even heard of him. He'd been in one series. He certainly wasn't at Ryan Reynolds level fame, never mind Blake Lively. And she bullied him into giving her the movie where she did her own cut. they released the cut of the movie. He didn't even get to see it. He was the director of the film, the producer of the film, the guy who got the rights to the film, the one who's supposed to be in control. He didn't even get to see it. He was in the basement at his own movie premiere. And then she had the nerve, because she had 2 minutes of bad publicity when the film hit, to come out and try to blame it all on him. None of it was just due to the fact that she seems like a rather shitty person.
In it, Ryan Reynolds appears to be interviewing Justin Baldoni under the pretense of a promotional segment. From a distance, it looked like harmless fun, a husband teasing his wife's co-star. But Megyn Kelly's take was that Ryan may have discovered hints of Blake's emotional entanglement with Justin, causing him to keep a watchful eye on any interactions. Some found the exchange harmless, while others saw tension hidden in Ryan's jokes. The question Megyn posed was simple. If Ryan suspected something was amiss, would he try to control the narrative so he came off as a loyal husband and comedic onlooker rather than a worried spouse? After Blake's official complaint surfaced, Justin turned around and sued her and Ryan for hundreds of millions of dollars, claiming defamation and extortion. According to Megyn Kelly's coverage, the countersuit laid out how Blake allegedly spread fabricated stories to pin her negative press on Justin. He insisted he never set out to tarnish Blake's name, but that she was simply upset at how she appeared to the public after the movie dropped. Why was her image taking such a big hit? Megyn again brought up the perplexing timing. Blake was heavily promoting her new alcohol brand and hair care line at the same moment she was portraying a woman in dire circumstances on screen. Many viewers found this jarring. It seemed out of place, even insensitive. But here's where Megyn's scoop turned downright explosive. She revealed that Justin's team produced text messages and behind-the-scenes video footage that contradicted many of Blake's initial claims. In her complaint, Blake said Justin repeatedly made her uncomfortable by stepping into her personal space, even in her private trailer. Yet, the messages show her inviting him to run lines together while she was pumping milk for her baby or simply relaxing in between takes. Justin's side insisted it was always at Blake's invitation. No one barged in unannounced. Suddenly, the accusations of inappropriate behavior didn't look quite so straightforward. Perhaps the biggest bombshell, though, involved a slow dance scene that ended up at the center of Blake's official claims. She insisted that Justin did unscripted acts like leaning in to sniff her neck and delivering lines out of character, which made her uncomfortable. Megyn Kelly played a behind-the-scenes snippet where viewers could see a very different context. The two were talking about body makeup rubbing off, giggling over what might or might not transfer onto his costume, and laughing about the scene. In the short clip, yes, Justin did remark that something smelled good, but Megyn pointed out this came right after Blake asked if her tanning spray was getting all over him. If the footage is authentic, it may tell a story of two colleagues joking around in what seemed like a friendly, flirtatious manner, hardly evidence of a co-star viciously crossing lines without warning. From Megyn Kelly's perspective, all this begs the question, why would Blake spin these stories? Her coverage suggested a major possibility. Maybe Blake grew closer to Justin than she should have, and Ryan found out. The drama behind the scenes lawsuits, negative press, heated text exchanges could be part of a scramble to protect her marriage. The more Blake's camp pointed fingers at Justin, the more people asked, what if Blake is actually covering her own tracks?
Now you see text messages in this lawsuit from Blake Lively comparing herself to the heroine of Game of Thrones, the fiercest female character we've seen in years, Khaleesi. That's her riding her dragon. She's the mother of dragons in Game of Thrones. And that's what Blake Lively says in a text message, that she too has her dragons, Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift. That's, again, believed to be the other person. And that they are powerful advocates for her. And while it seems to be said like, I'm so lucky that I have them as great storytellers to help me rewrite this script, what Brian Friedman alleges is, you'll go along or I'll unleash my dragons on you, you loser who no one's ever heard of.
And that's exactly where Megyn's final reveal dropped jaws. Alleged direct knowledge that Blake felt an attraction toward Justin and panicked when Ryan became suspicious. Megyn cited an unnamed source close to the production, who claims there was a pivotal moment when Ryan started to notice unusual tension between Blake and Justin. This observer speculated that Ryan was the one pushing Blake to file a complaint, hoping to recast Justin as the troublemaker so the media would never suspect that the real issue was blossoming chemistry between co-stars. While it might sound like a far-fetched Hollywood rumor, the source insisted that was the real reason Ryan ended up so involved in promotional segments for It Ends With Us, even stepping in for interviews that normally would have been left to publicists or cast members. Then there's the matter of the so-called gag order. After Justin released that behind-the-scenes footage and voice memo, Blake and Ryan supposedly moved to muzzle him legally. Megyn Kelly's reasoning is straightforward. If you truly believe you're in the right, why try to stop the other side from speaking out? According to Megyn, this tactic usually signals desperation, maybe a sign that more unflattering details were about to go public. Indeed, it seemed suspicious to clamp down so vehemently if all you wanted was justice. 'Tis no secret. Blake's PR presence took a significant hit when parts of her promotional tour for It Ends With Us went viral. She was criticized for sounding a bit detached from the film's serious themes, focusing more on product pitches than on the struggle her character faced. Clips of her snappy responses to interviewers, sometimes borderline sarcastic, began circulating on social media. The negativity escalated to the point that even her longtime fans were feeling unsettled. Megyn Kelly pointed out how the narrative of Blake as the victim emerged right around this time, fueling speculation that her team was working overtime to deflect from any personal missteps. Meanwhile, Candace Owens also chimed in on her social media, suggesting that Ryan Reynolds was orchestrating much of the anti-Justin publicity. Megyn Kelly took this angle further, stating that if Blake really was trying to cover up a slip in her marriage, Ryan would have every motivation to ensure Justin's name got dragged through tabloids, effectively burying any rumor that his wife might have feelings for another man. This theory gained traction when a major publication ran a story that parroted Blake's claims in near-identical fashion, only to be slammed with a $250 million lawsuit from Justin, who said the piece contained incomplete and misleading information.
One of the key allegations in her complaint against Justin Baldoni was as follows, from paragraph 48 of her complaint. She writes, on another occasion, Mr. Baldoni and Ms. Lively were filming a slow dance scene for a montage in which no sound was recorded. Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform the scene, but did not act in character as Ryle. Instead, he spoke to Ms. Lively out of character as himself. At one point, he leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips from her ear and down her neck as he said, "It smells so good." None of this was remotely in character or based on any dialogue in the script, and nothing needed to be said because, again, there was no sound. Mr. Baldoni was caressing Ms. Lively with his mouth in a way that had nothing to do with their roles. When Ms. Lively later objected to this behavior, Mr. Baldoni's response was, "I'm not even attracted to you." Well, guess what? TMZ has gotten its hands on that video, and you can hear Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni interacting as themselves, knowing that this is all on video and that this is going to be used to create this dance scene, and no such moment is shown. Just watch it. Watch it.
Oh my gosh, we don't shut up.
And Emily and I have we have these moments where
staring. You just stare.
Literally we've done it for 5 minutes. it's like, I think you would find it terrifying. It's literally
you're talking about their spouses.
Each other, and
when
time,
I found a sociopath.
And time stops.
Yeah.
But that's just how it's been for us from the beginning.
No, we're like, oh my god, there's not enough time.
Oh.
And they score again.
Yeah. It's like, oh my god, I forgot to tell you something else.
I think that's cute. You guys are really cute.
I think it's more than cute.
They're acting like lovers.
And my nose is so big.
Yes, I was hoping that we could address this. It's not too late. Just gotta shut down. We gotta call an insurance month and just deal with that.
Yeah.
And then
deal with your big nose.
Just kidding.
Okay, there. Okay, so he puts his head in her neck.
I'm not getting beard on you today.
And says, "Am I getting beard on you?"
It smells good.
Well, it's not that. It's my body makeup.
Right. And then says, smells good. And she says, it's my body makeup. That's her big harassment moment. They are playfully acting for the camera, trying to make it look like two lovers, two people in a relationship are dancing with one another. I know this gets overused now, but she did FAFO. Like, she thought she could blame all of her negative press on him. He's a weakling. She's Blake Lively with Ryan Reynolds, her dragon. And she decided, I can't take 1 month worth of negative press, which she got, generated, she says, by him. He says, by you and your badness. And she's so thin-skinned, look what happens to you. Look what happened to poor Jake Cal even on this show. People get picked on when they're in the public eye, right? Like, just Google Megyn Kelly. You'll see terrible articles about me. It's part of being in the public eye. She's just used to being Hollywood's golden girl. And she had such thin skin that after having a couple negative things happen to her for a month, she had to blame him. She decided to blame him. And boy, did she open up a hornet's nest and learn, be careful what you wish for, because now you've got the fight you asked for and you're not winning it.
All of this leaves fans in a swirl of confusion. Some folks are firmly Team Justin, believing he's a victim of an orchestrated campaign to ruin his reputation. Others are unwavering in their support for Blake and Ryan, convinced this is just another case of a Hollywood figure trying to gaslight a star and spin the narrative. But Megyn Kelly's coverage has introduced that third stunning possibility. Maybe there was a romantic spark, and maybe it compromised everything Blake said once the tension became too real for her marriage. One moment that continues to captivate watchers is when Megyn Kelly played an extended portion of the voice memo Justin sent to Blake. In it, Justin heaps praise on her for her talent and how much he values working with her. He talks about wanting to spend more time together, brainstorming, even referencing the synergy between their creative minds. Although none of this explicitly confirms an affair, it certainly fuels the imagination, especially for those who've seen the rest of the texts that hint at flirty interactions and possible emotional closeness. That closeness also shows up in what Megyn called the strangest part of all. Footage of Blake referencing personal items from her real-life home that ended up in the movie. She spoke about including her husband's shirts and her friends' clothing choices, sprinkling them into various scenes. According to Megyn, it was as if Blake was blending her personal and professional worlds to a point that made her extremely protective of her on-set environment. Could that have extended to private moments with Justin? Then there's the big question of how Taylor Swift fits into this drama. Megyn recalled messages in which Blake alludes to having these dragons ready to defend her at a moment's notice, including Taylor. Some interpret this as a playful reference, but Megyn wondered if it was a strategic move, hinting that if Justin refused to comply, one of the most influential artists in the world might back Blake publicly, turning public opinion entirely in her favor. That is the sort of Hollywood power play that keeps the rumor mill churning, and Megyn Kelly capitalized on it by reading between the lines.
A 2009 Glamour UK interview by Blake Lively, and in her interview, she admitted to trying to poison the cast of Gossip Girl, which is where she made her name, against her co-star Penn Badgley, who played her love interest, Dan Humphrey, on the show. She said, "At first I was so upset that they had hired him, I actually poisoned the whole cast against him." And she goes on to say, but then they noticed that he wasn't a jerk and was actually a nice, charming person. And almost immediately I realized it too. But it took me about a week to admit it. And here's the thing. Reports were that Blake Lively and Leighton Meester, who played best friends on that show, were not friends during the 6-season run of the show. Leighton Meester and Penn Badgley and other Gossip Girl co-stars have remained silent in the wake of the Baldoni legal drama. Neither Meester nor Badgley follow Lively on Instagram. I defend Justin Baldoni in this lawsuit with Blake Lively because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie. But he is the most overly feminized man I've had to endure in recent history. Everything he says is self-flagellating over the fact that he's a man. But he's, to me, is sort of the embodiment of what happens when you totally emasculate a man. And then she continued, she took that stiletto and stuck it in his heart when he was down there self-flagellating, being so sorry for anything having to do with his testosterone. And so that's what happens to you, right? You run into somebody who seems like a witch who will take advantage of you and hurt you until finally even that kind of a guy rises up. Now, he didn't do it himself exactly. He hired a badass named Brian Friedman. And he has badass women like me defending him. But slowly but surely, I think the male class is learning down on the floor, squirming and apologizing for being a man is not the way.
If you have allies that large, you can shape a story however you see fit. So where do Megyn Kelly's bombshell claims stand now? The lawsuits are still pending, with each side accusing the other of spreading lies. Both Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have kept relatively quiet in recent weeks. Justin Baldoni has stuck to his guns, insisting he's been falsely portrayed and that the real story goes far beyond any issues on set. Megyn Kelly's latest show ended with her doubling down on the possible romance angle, pointing to how certain details just don't add up if you believe Blake's version. She noted the rapid escalation, first an 80-page lawsuit from Blake, then a countersuit from Justin, multiple leaked text messages, a new wave of behind-the-scenes footage, and an attempt by Blake and Ryan to silence Justin afterward. That timeline, Megyn argues, suggests a messy cover-up of personal drama. The biggest shock of all is Megyn Kelly's assertion that Blake, feeling cornered by growing rumors about her real feelings for Justin, decided the best defense was to go on offense. By casting herself as a wronged party, she might have hoped the public's sympathy would overshadow any speculation about her crossing a line with her co-star. And for a while, it seemed to work. But once Justin provided texts and footage that contradicted key points in Blake's complaint, everything began to unravel. For now, fans are left sifting through conflicting accounts. Some are shouting that Justin's evidence proves Blake made everything up. Others cling to Blake's claim that she felt deeply disrespected and singled out on set. But Megyn Kelly's revelations throw a new possibility into the ring. Maybe the truth is less about who acted rudely during production and more about how far one might go to bury whispers of infidelity. If so, it raises the question of how soon we'll see official statements, more legal motions, or even a quiet separation if the tension continues to grow. No one truly knows what happens next, but with Megyn Kelly now shining a glaring spotlight on possible romantic betrayal, it's safe to say the fallout could be even bigger than anything we've seen so far. The final word? We'll just have to wait and see whether Megyn Kelly's bombshell findings spur more people to come forward with their own accounts. So many are curious if more text messages or behind-the-scenes footage exist that could tilt the scale in one direction or the other. Maybe it will be an insider from the movie's crew who steps up with an exclusive interview, or maybe someone close to Ryan Reynolds who comes clean about how he truly feels. Until then, the speculation about whether Blake Lively really cheated on Ryan Reynolds will continue to swirl, with Megyn Kelly's investigative spotlight showing no signs of dimming. And if you ask many viewers, that's exactly what makes this one of the most intriguing Hollywood mysteries of the year, an ever-evolving triangle of love, power, and potential betrayal that keeps everyone hanging on the next big revelation.